right off the hop, when I saw the lineup and I'm like, oh, they did it. They scratched Virtanen. 18 goals during the regular season. They scratched Virtanen. Okay. 0. They scratched Zach McEwen. Excellent fourth line presence. Really like the kid. Sit him. We heard a lot about Brogan Rafferty and what he did in the AHL. Probably could have used that on the blue line. Nah. Olyu Levy, that number 5 draft pick, he looked okay in the exhibition game. Nah. And of course, Louis Eriksson. $6 million to not play. Now, I expect changes in the next game. I'd be surprised if there weren't changes in the next game. But let's be honest. It's going to be Louis that goes into the game. Isn't it? Isn't it? The split between the Canucks and Jake Virtanen is clearly on the way. Once we reach the official offseason, it's not a matter of if he gets traded, it's where and what they're going to get back. And what concerns me is this is a team that it felt like was on the right track. And now it feels like the personnel decisions are being made along the lines of, okay, we're all done now. Rebuild's done. We're gonna have the veterans in this lineup. We're gonna keep guys like Beagle, Roussel, and Pearson, and try to find a way to keep Toffoli, and yeah, this is gonna be great. And then of course there's rumors of whether or not Brock Besser stays a Vancouver Canuck, to the point where you could say, well, there was nothing behind it, but Jim Benning still felt like he needed to come out and say, we're not trying to trade Besser. Which is not anything to say, because he can't trade anybody right now, because you can't trade anybody right now. It's after the trade deadline. So I'd really hoped I wouldn't be wearing a Minnesota jersey tonight. I'd really hoped. And when I wore a Vancouver jersey for that preview, I was looking at that matchup and going, the Wild are like a nightmare matchup for Vancouver. They're disciplined. They are a very good defensive team with a coach who had them playing the right style going into the break. They were 7-3 heading into the break. The Canucks were headed in the wrong direction. And you can point and say, well, that's because Markstrom got hurt. And you'd have a point, but their numbers were trending in the wrong direction as a team. And tonight, they continued that trend. And I did a little check. It has been 145 days since I watched Vancouver beat the New York Islanders in a shootout. That was the same night Boston beat Philadelphia 2-0, which is a shutout. And that's the last time that a team that I cheer for has won a game. Exhibition, and now through the first game of everybody, and Dallas is up tomorrow against Vegas, and boy howdy. And it's one of those things where I look at the Canucks, and I look how this team's put together, and I say, I don't think this is a plan that's going to bring about winning. And I think there's been a leaning towards truculence that I think has taken away from the skill level. So let's get into the actual events of tonight's game. Early Edler chances kicked out. Get used to that. Stalock dialed in. Fantastic game by Stalock. I like this guy a lot. Ferland and Foligno then had a fight, and I didn't like that. Why? Because Ferland had concussions. Ferland's been out most of the season, played a grand total of 14 games, and he's in a fight 3 seconds into the game. I know it wasn't that quick, but it felt like it. And I cringed when I saw it. I thought, holy crap, I understand he called for it. I understand as part of who he is. I also understand he's probably one punch away from his career potentially being over. So that I'm not a big fan of. Hunt then had a chance that was off target. The Wild pressured, and then Edler got a penalty. That's a legit penalty. The Wild get a power play on a lazy penalty by Edler. The number one thing that I hate, and I've seen it all kinds tonight from Canuck fans, and I see it a lot when we get to the playoffs, the refs screwed us. You know what the problem is? It's the refs. The problem is the refs. Do you know who don't complain about refs? Winners. Winners don't say, we won that game 4-1 tonight. The refs really screwed us. They might say, well, the refereeing was against us, but we still won the game. People that whine about refereeing are usually the fans of the team that's not winning the game, not winning the series, not going anywhere. And they get into this whole conspiracy. So 3 seconds into the power play, Fiala scores from Stahl and Parise. Kevin Fiala picked up where he left off. Fiala was one of the hottest players in the NHL at the time of the break. He's still there. That was the third shot. I thought that was a bad sign for the Canucks because the Canucks had outshot them to that point, handedly. And then the puck goes the other way. It's in the net. Fiala then gets a pass to Stahl, 2-on-1. Markstrom robbed Stahl. I thought Markstrom had a decent game, but not fantastic. This was not the same Markstrom that, was the MVP for the team during the season. The Canucks didn't seem to be sharp, and then Myers takes a penalty. And again, legit penalty by Tyler Myers. I'm not sure what he's thinking there, but I have all season defended Tyler Myers, cannot defend him tonight. If it comes out over the next day that Green's going to blow it up and he's going to take Myers out of the roster or off the lineup and put Rafferty on the blue line, okay. I'm game right now. I am far more willing to try that right now than I was before this game started. Stalock denied Myers after the Canucks killed that penalty. Not every power play ended up going in the net. It just felt like it did. Toffoli and Hartman collided. Hartman was slow to leave the ice. He got cut. His mouth got cut with a stick. It was one of those fluke things. The Canucks seemed to be icing the puck a lot. They didn't have room through the middle. This felt a lot like Columbus and Toronto pretty early. I was like, I just watched this game. I know how this game ends. Stalock looked good, composed when he was tested, and the Canucks were trying to force shots. They were trying to force shots, and then they were trying to be too pretty at times as well, overpassing, and I think it was this looks like it's a crowded front of the net, then blast it. And they were trying to force some shots when they shouldn't have, and it was not great. Beagle then to Mott. Stalock stopped that. It's a decent shot for Mott. And I like Mott. I do. But we might be at a position now where we say, does putting Mott in the lineup instead of McEwen, does that make sense? And again, I have not criticized Green as a coach all year. I have been very quiet about Green, and I've said I think he's a good coach for the Canucks to get him out of this rebuild. Tonight, the lineup decisions and how this team played have got me questioning that. The Canucks then had 7 on the ice during a delayed penalty. So Minnesota's going to get a penalty. The Canucks are going to get a power play. If you're a Canuck fan that's mad about the Canucks not getting a power play until the third period, point at the Canucks. Markstrom hasn't left the ice yet, and it's like the whole Canuck bench went, now what do we do? Don't jump on the ice. So then Markstrom gets over. There's seven guys on the ice. What are you doing? I'm yelling at the television because they're showing us the replay, and I'm like, don't show me the embarrassment that is the Canucks having 7 guys on the ice during a delayed penalty. Don't show me that. So it's a 4-on-4. So when people are like, I think we're screwed because the Canucks didn't get a power play, then get mad at the Canucks. Don't get mad at the referees when they were trying to give us a man advantage. I don't even like saying we sometimes. I don't. And I hear myself say it. And I'm like, Shannon, you're not a member of the Canucks. We are all Canucks. Oh, we're all Canucks tonight. Second period, Sutter hit a post. The Canucks were pushing early. Posts was about what they could get. Undisciplined again. A Pearson penalty. And it was a boneheaded penalty by Pearson. That's the third wild power play. Again, the Canucks screwed themselves out of that one power play. You can't get mad at them for that. 31 seconds into the power play, Spurgeon gets the goal, 5-hole from Stahl. And it was partly Edler kind of screening, and Markstrom assuming Edler was going to block the puck, or something along those lines, if you listen to the commentators. It goes right 5-hole. You can't allow that. And again, notice the 0. I can't say a whole lot about Markstrom on this because of the 0. The same as Freddie Anderson. For Leaf fans like, Anderson should have stopped that. You know what else should have happened? Matthews taking that $12 million of his and turning it into a goal. But don't worry. There were a lot of passengers in the Vancouver game too. Now, the Wild were crashing the net, getting into Markstrom's face. And the Wild did a masterful job of knocking the Canucks right off of their game when they needed to. And making sure that the Canucks were busy trying to get all physical And they pointed out all these hits the Canucks had thrown through 2 periods. And again, I'm left yelling at the TV, this is not the Canucks game. This is not how they succeed. Successful games are not made up of a bunch of hitting. The funny part was they said, this is the most hits they've thrown since the game against the Penguins in November. And I thought, oh, the game where they blew that huge lead. Oh, that's good. We should play like those guys. So Hughes got shots into the crowd. They're missing lots of hits for the Canucks. But again, the Wild are not exactly a team made up of dainty little flowers. The Wild are made up of a team that gets tougher the more they get hit. You've got guys like Zuccarello. You've got guys like Stahl. You've got Hartman. These are not guys who are weak, small players. These are... And again, people are going to say, well, Zuccarello's not very big. Zuccarello plays big. Zuccarello, you smoke him into the boards, he's like, all right, bring it on. Thank you, sir. May I have another? Third period. Canucks needed an early goal. That wasn't happening. Stalock was slashed by Pearson, undisciplined again. What was Pearson thinking? He's going behind the net. Well, I'm back here. Might as well slash the back of the leg of the goalie because... And there's Canuck fans again. I see it on Twitter and I see it. Oh, the refs are screwing us. Are you sure? Are you sure? Because it sure looked like Pearson was screwing us in that period. That period. Holy, like, you got to think that a referee's thinking, all right, I've given all these penalties to the Canucks and I can't. Wait, did he just slash the goalie behind the net? All right, you're going back to the box because stupidity should be a 2-minute penalty. All right, so, and then Miller took a shot off of his hand during the penalty kill. Thankfully, he stayed in the game, but he was icing it. We'll see how he is next game, because that's one of those things where you take the shot, and then it might swell up later. So hopefully he's okay. Then Pearson with the puck. Pearson, definitely not my favorite player tonight. It's weird, because I love Tanner Pearson during the season. He decided to drop the puck to Kevin Fiala, which it's a strange strategy to go, we're not doing very well when we have the puck. Maybe I'll throw it to the other team and see how they do. So he throws it to Stahl. Stahl is stopped by Markstrom, who I'm sure is swearing under his mask at the fact that Pearson dropped it right to Fiala. The Wild were clogging up the middle of the ice as the clock was ticking down. And this is about when I put the 0 on the board and posted it to Instagram before the game was over, so people can't say, hey, you didn't actually do that. Yes, I did. I did, because I knew exactly where this was going. So, giveaway then by Myers to Hartman. The Canucks managed to survive that. Again, not Myers. Myers and Pearson make a combined, what, $10.75 million? Try not to cough up the puck and take dumb penalties. I know maybe it takes 11 million not to do that. Maybe if you give them an extra 250 grand, maybe things get better. Now, the other side of this is that then the Canucks are trying to go solo, not crisp with the passing, and guilty of this was Besser. Besser did what I used to see a lot from the Sedins late in the game where the Canucks were struggling, where it was, okay, we got to do this ourselves, and they would try to go 1-on-5, 2-on-5. You can't do it, and I saw Besser doing it, and I was like, oh, God. Now we've got into a situation where the Canucks have it in their heads they're not going to get a goal unless it's up to me. I don't trust the other guys. It's up to me. And that's when you know the game is completely lost. Now, Ferland then got into it with the Wild bench. Now, this is, Cunnin grabbed his stick and held onto it. Cunnin got caught. At first, I thought that Ferland was going to the box by himself. And then I was going to rage the same as Canuck fans and say, okay, that's not fair. But they did catch Cunnin, and it was 4-on-4. But if Ferland hadn't retaliated, that would have been a power play. So see how that works? If Ferland had just let his stick go and gone, notice it's still in the air because the other team's got it. That's a penalty. That's a power play. The Canucks' lack of discipline tonight cost them. The Canucks' lack of discipline. The fact that Minnesota was basically that kid doing, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you, and it just drove them insane. Pettersson was being smothered as well. So they had their top 2 defense pairings up against Pettersson. And they did a fantastic job shutting him down. Dumba played a great game. This was defensively a really, really good game by Minnesota. I am not trying to take away from what Minnesota did at all. Stalock was great in net, and Minnesota played really, really well. Then there was a nice play by Galchenyuk, and Markstrom saved. Now, this scares me only because there's been rumors for a long time that maybe when Galchenyuk becomes a UFA this summer, he's somebody Benning wants. Benning really likes Galchenyuk. And it's the idea that maybe the Canucks could look at getting rid of Virtanen and Besser and bring in Galchenyuk. It just... You seen scanners where the guy's head explodes? All right. So, Markstrom then proved he was the best defenseman on the ice. He kept coming out of his net to win races for pucks because the defensemen weren't coming back to do it. And I think he came out and did it 3 times. He was the best defenseman. And maybe give him 2 sticks next game so he can play goal and he can play defense. Maybe give him both. So, 4:41 left. This was after the lights went out briefly. And I thought, is that Jake Virtanen turning out the lights? So the lights went out and they came right back on and the referee blows the whistle. I thought, Jake Virtanen screwing with the lights. So 4:41 left. The Canucks get their first power play. It's on a Koivu penalty. Here we go. Francesco Aquilini said during the second intermission, we need a power play. He finally got it. And it did nothing. Nothing happened. So they pulled the goalie with more than 2 minutes left. Pettersson then had a stick break happen on a pass. He had his first really, really, really good chance of the night. And of course his stick broke because of course it did. Stalock looked excellent. They call a timeout with 52 seconds left while there's 6-on-5. I can only assume to discuss where there's really good golfing for after this series could potentially be over because there was no plan coming out of this that I could discern that was better than anything Minnesota came up with in their huddle. Dean Evison, really good job coaching there. Spurgeon hits the empty net from Eriksson Ek and Koivu at 19:15. So empty net goal makes it 3-0. And then Roussel got a 10-minute misconduct for being Antoine Roussel, right? Antoine Roussel, the whole game, was out there being agitated, and he did exactly what Minnesota wanted him to do, which was a distraction. And even though the announcers, Louis DeBrusque was saying, well, this is how he plays, and he's out there shift disturbing to try to get things going. It didn't work. Nothing was working. And now the Wild are up 1-0. The shots, 14-12 Vancouver in the first, 10-8 Vancouver in the second, and then in the third, when they desperately needed a goal, Minnesota outshot them 11-4. Final shots, 31-28 in favor of Minnesota. The hits were 40-28 Vancouver, so good job. You got all the hits. You didn't score a goal. I liked it better when they scored goals and didn't hit. Just throwing that out there. Power plays, Minnesota went 2 for 4, Vancouver went 0 for 1, and twice could have had a power play and hosed themselves out of it. So when you're going to say the referees, they screwed over the Canucks, no. The 7 players on the ice, and Ferland retaliated when somebody held his stick. Those would have been 2 more power plays, and maybe it's a different game, but I don't think it was going to happen. 145 days since I've seen a team I cheer for win a game. And tomorrow it'll be 146. If Dallas falls against Vegas, I'm thinking maybe that happens. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Tell me why the referees were responsible for the Canucks not having a goal. Because, yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. And hey, hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Because watching my misery is what got us here. This is the first Canucks playoff game, because technically it's play-ins, it's not playoffs yet, but it's the first Canucks playoff game in the life of this channel, and of course they got shut out, and the first game that's really meant a lot since 2015, and yeah. Thank you guys so much for all your support, though this does help. This is my therapy session. Thank you for watching my therapy session. I will talk to you again soon.